You are looking in Schoology for this assignment, 602 Work to Kinetic Energy RA. You'll notice that it says assign today's date, but the due date is not until next Tuesday. Okay, so it's due on the 5th. You have today and tomorrow in class to work on it. You do not have class time Monday or Tuesday unless we happen to have extra time at the end of the period, but there's no scheduled time for it. So that means that you want to focus on getting as much done as you can today and tomorrow. Anything after that might have to be done outside of class, but since it's all digital, that should be easy enough to do. When you open this up, it's going to give you this document. Okay, there's a spot here for you to enter your student ID, and then you can also enter your partner's student ID. Although if you are working with another person, please make sure that you share your file with them. So if Walter and I were in a group, maybe we want to use Walter's sheet, he's going to open it up. He's going to go up to the top right here and click share and then put my email so that I can access it. Okay, so again, if you're working with another person, please share it. You both need edit access. Okay, however, please do not make a copy. You need to work on the file that is in Schoology. Okay, and it says that on my screen, but do not make a copy of it. Okay, if you do that, we are going to think that you are cheating on it. Okay, because you're either going to be copy pasting large amounts of data or something, and it's going to let us know that you made a copy or that you pasted a bunch of stuff. So do not make a copy, just use the file as is. Okay, so again, this is what it looks like whenever you open it up. And so again, there's a spot on the score tab for you to put your ID and your partners. Please do that. Obviously don't use these, those are my examples. And then you go to the lab. Okay, so the other tab says lab, and on the lab tab is where all of the information is for this lab, all of your instructions, all of your questions, all of little screenshots, and the link to the lab is all in here. Your data tables are in here. So everything is on this one tab. Okay, today, again, as you work through this today and tomorrow, you're answering these two questions. Determine the factors that affect the work done on an object and or its resulting kinetic energy, and describe the mathematical relationships between any factors that affect work and or kinetic energy. So the setup for your lab, again, we're just going to read through parts of this. I expect you to read the rest on your own. But you're going to start by going to the website that is linked here. If you hover over it, it should give you a link to click, or you can click the cell. But you are going to have to click this link. When you do, it's going to open up a new website called the Physics Aviary, which is another place that we can go for digital simulations, kind of like PhET and Gizmo. This one, though, is typically higher level stuff, and it's designed to be more real world in the way that you collect the data. You don't necessarily get perfect data. You have to start and stop the timer. You have to click the things like you would in the real world if you had a timer, okay, or whatever the tool may be. So that does mean it is possible for you to collect data that's not the best data. You have to be careful with how you're collecting it, and part of the way the lab is going to be scored is based on your percent error. How close did you get to the data you were supposed to get? Are you within 5%? If so, full credit, okay? We'll talk about that more in a second. But if we go back to our instructions, and again, if you're working with a partner, that's going to make this part easier so you don't have to flip back and forth from one tab to the other. But if you look at the instructions, it tells you read the instructions on the screen carefully, then click begin. It's referring to these instructions. So you can read that. And again, if you haven't yet, please make sure you read that. I'm just going to show you real quick. We clicked begin. This is what the actual simulation looks like. It's pretty basic. It tells you here there are arrows toward the bottom of the lab that allow you to adjust values for force and mass. Note the default force is 115 newtons. The default mass is 70 kilograms. You will adjust these as needed for the trials below. You don't need to do it yet. It's just telling you that there are ways to do that, and it's telling you, look at these arrows. Okay, there are distance markings every 5 meters. The astronaut's beginning position is marked as 0 meters. Note that the photo gates are located at the 70 and 80 meter marks and appear as red lines. The photo gate time will measure how long, in milliseconds, it takes the astronaut to move between, the 10 meters between the two photo gates for each trial. The way that this simulation works, okay, and photo gates are an actual tool that we can use. I don't think we've actually used them this year. But a photo gate in this simulation is a red line, but the way that it works is as soon as the object, in this case this astronaut, crosses that line, it automatically starts a timer. And then it's going to continue timing until he crosses that second line. He's going to trip the photo gates. And so it's going to give you the time that it takes him to travel this 10-meter distance between the two of them. That's going to be one of the data points you're going to be recording. In fact, it's the most important data point that you're going to be recording. Okay, and so if you look here, it tells you when you're ready to run a trial to click activate to turn on the fire extinguisher and accelerate the astronaut across the screen. You can click shut off at any time to stop the fire extinguisher. Now it's going to tell you specifically when to click shut off for several of these, but you can click it at any point in time, and then you're going to reset to set up for the next test. So let me just show you really quickly how this works. You'll click activate once you have everything set up how you want it. It turns on a fire extinguisher, and then when you want to shut off that fire extinguisher, you click shut off. He'll just continue across the screen now, and then he's going to trip the photo gate once he gets there, and it's going to start the timer down here. You're going to see it counting, and then it turns off whenever he trips the other one. Okay, and so that is what you're doing for the simulation is you're allowing him to use the fire extinguisher to accelerate, and then he's going to turn it off and then just move, okay, at that constant speed from that point. Okay, this I think is inspired by the movie WALL-E, where he has a fire extinguisher in space. This time it's an astronaut instead of a cute little robot, but same idea. If you go down here, you're going to start today with the pre-lab, which should hopefully help to guide your thought process and to help you understand how to work the simulation better. So please make sure you start here. The pre-lab will give you feedback out to the side. You'll notice right now I have X's out here, and that means that it's currently incorrect. That makes sense since it's blank. Obviously, as you enter your data, those will turn to check marks if you're right. However, if you, again, I told you there's a possibility for error in your data collections. If you don't set up the experiment the right way, or you don't start and stop that fire extinguisher or whatever at the right times, okay, then you might end up with a % error more than 5%. If you have an error greater than 5%, instead of that turning to a check mark, it's going to say partial. You can redo it. It's not going to like limit you to only doing it once. If it says partial, try it again, try to time it better. Okay, and so what I mean by that, let me zoom in a little so this is a little bit easier to see. Okay, so the first step says to leave the force and mass values at the default levels. They're pre-filled down here, the 115 and the 70. Click activate and then shut off as soon as the astronaut reaches the 10-meter mark as pictured to the right. And I put a picture here because this is where you're going to have error if you have it. Guys, if you look at the astronaut's initial position, his little backpack is on the 0-meter line. Okay, so let me show you real quick if I reset this. His backpack starts here. Okay, if I want to stop him at the 10-meter line, I need to stop him where he's at the same position. So if I do this, that's not going to work very well because he went past the line. Okay, I need him to be at the same position. In fact, if I type this number in, I imagine it's going to give me some amount of error. It might be kind of close. We'll see. 1596. Nope, partial. Okay, so you'll notice that's that % error I was talking about. So then I would want to retry that. Okay, reset, and I want to make sure that I stop it as close to that line as I can. And again, it's a little difficult. I didn't get it perfect. I could try it again if I want, but this one's probably going to be close enough. Okay, and then we'll type in that number. Again, you can do it as many times as you want, and it will give you feedback here. I will point something else out to you. Even if it gives you credit here, you have to use this number down here in part B of number 2 for a calculation. That calculation might end up with more than 5% error because you're now using a rounded value to get another value. If that one happens, it'll say calc to the side, and then you're going to know, oh, I better retry that, okay, and get better data. You'll get the hang of it, I promise. Once you've done it a few times, it's not too difficult. But in the pre-lab, you're going to work through figuring out how to operate it and answering these questions that will help you figure out how to do the rest of the lab. Again, there's immediate feedback on this part. Then you're going to read the procedures, and please read the procedure. They're going to tell you how to do the rest of the lab. Okay, it's going to tell you to run the simulation, and then it's going to tell you, and this one says to put your data into table 1. Table 1 is down here in the observation section, and so I'll be typing my data in here for that first part. Okay, and then you'll continue on to part 2, and again, there's procedures for part 2 and for part 3. Okay, you have today and tomorrow in class to work on this, so get as much done as you can today so that you can hopefully finish it in class tomorrow. Once you have all the data collected, you also have this data analysis section for some calculations, and you then have an extension at the bottom with just 3 questions that each have a couple of parts to them. Parts of this give you feedback, parts of it don't. Okay, of course you can, however, track your score on this tab so you can get an idea of how you're doing so far as a percent. The maximum number of points is 70, so if you get a 70 out of 70, this will show 100%. Okay, so the percent score will go up to 100. So anyway, I'm going to let you guys get to it. So again, if you are working with a partner, you need to make sure that you put both of your IDs on the first tab so that you're both working in the same document. Make sure it's shared with your partner. And you have today and tomorrow to work on this in class. Anything after that will be done outside of my room. If you have questions as you're working, please let me know.